Take a look. Perek Yud. The Alter Rebbe is explaining what tzaddikim are. So first he says that there are tzaddikim who serve the Eibishter with ahava b'tainugim. With such a ahava that they can't wait to be connected to the Eibishter, and that's why they do mitzvahs, and that's why they don't do averos. Then there are certain tzaddikim that are called b'nei aliyah. That doesn't mean tzaddik. It means a kind of tzaddik who is higher than the regular tzaddik. B'nei aliyah. So take a look at the bracket. Kind of towards the end of Perek Yud. Yeah, right there on the top. On the top of the page. V'oid. Can you read it? V'oid nikroyim b'nei aliyah.
V'oid nikroyim b'nei aliyah. V'ibnei shegam avedasa mevichinas v'asei teif. B'kim ateiru mitveseha. Hu l'tzirich geveya.
That's it. Another reason that they are called b'nei aliyah, that they're somehow higher than a tzaddik, is because the reason they do their avodah in asei teiv and in keeping mitzvahs, Torah and mitzvahs, hu l'tzirich geveya, for the Eibishter's need. Tzirich doesn't mean want, it means need. Yes? Umayla mayla adreim hamaylas. They are serving and doing what is needed in the Eibishter in the highest levels. V'loi kedei ledofka b'yizbarich bilvad, and not only to get closer to the Eibishter, because they want to be close to the Eibishter, or l'raves tzimo'ei nafsham hatzmeyo lahashem. They don't do the mitzvah just to satisfy their thirst, that is thirsting for the Eibishter. So actually, Tzomo l'cho nafshi is not the highest level. Because if you have a tzimoin and you're doing something because of that tzimoin, who are you serving?
Because of yourself, or tainik.
You're feeling thirsty, you need Eibishter. So of course that makes you a tzaddik, because most people need other things. The tzaddik, his thirst is for the Eibishter, and when he does mitzvahs, it satisfies his thirst. But the b'nei aliyah don't do it for that reason. They do it for the Eibishter's thirst, for the Eibishter's need. What is the Eibishter? First he brings a pasuk, Kamei Shekasuv. Hey kol tzamo l'chul hamayim. The Navi says, hey, you got everybody who's thirsty, go find the water. And mayim means Torah. So what is the Navi saying? If you're thirsty, learn Torah. But what does it mean? If a person wants to learn, you have to have a Navi to tell you, if you're thirsty and you want to learn, learn. What kind of chachma is that? What it means is, if you're thirsty for the Eibishter, how do you get closer to the Eibishter? Through Torah. Not you're thirsting for Torah. You're thirsting for the Eibishter. So you might not know what to do about that. What should you do if you want to get closer to the Eibishter? The answer is you can do it through Torah. So there is a tzimoin that holy people feel for the Eibishter, and that makes them learn Torah, because through Torah they get closer to the Eibishter, and that satisfies their tzimoin, their thirst. But the b'nei aliyah don't do it for that reason. Ella, why do they do mitzvahs? Kidepirshu b'tikunim. As he explains in Tikunim, in the Kabbalah, Eizehu chosid. What does chosid mean? Hamischasid im kainei. Somebody who does chesed with his creator. He's doing the Eibishter chesed. That's called a chosid. But why is the Eibishter here called kainei? Why not Beirei? Why not whatever other names the Eibishter has? So the Tikkunim explains, koinoi means imkan delay. Kan means a nest. Kan zipper, yeah? So a kan means a nest. The dire betachtonim is like a nest. For the bird's house is a nest, right? So the dire betachtonim is like a nest. So how can you do the Eibishter a favor? What does the Eibishter need from you? The dire betachtonim, the nest. So the Bnei Aliyah, they do mitzvahs not because they are thirsty, but because the Eibishter's taiva for a dire betachtonim, so they're doing it for the Eibishter. Liyachado kuchabrichu shchinte betachtonim. When we do it, before you do a mitzvah, you say, why am I doing this mitzvah? L'shem, yichud, kuchabrichu, and shchinte. Has nothing to do with me. I'm doing the mitzvah in order to bring a yichud between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His Shechina.
But I'm part of the Eibishter, so then it has to do with me.
But your bechira is that you want to do what He needs, not because you need. So the fact is, you do need, but you don't always do what you need. You have bechira. So the marshal eating l'shem shemayim. I need to eat, but I can choose. I have bechira. I can choose. Am I going to eat for me, or am I going to eat l'shem shemayim? So, how do you do the Eibishter a favor? What can you do for the Eibishter? You can bring the yichud of Kucha B'richu and Shchinte into this world, which would make a dire betachtonim. He says in the Raya Mehemna, another part of the Zohar, that kibra, you do a mitzvah like a son, the ishtadl bosar avuye v'imei, who tries, does whatever he can for his father and mother. Why? The rachim loin, because he loves them, yatir, more migarmei v'nafshei v'ruche v'nishmosei. He loves his parents more than himself, his nefesh, his ruach, and his neshama, and therefore mosar garmei, he gives himself away. Lemisa, he allows himself to be killed. Alayhu, for the parents. Lemifrak loin, to take them out of prison or out of captivity, whatever. So what do we have here? Alter Rebbe is saying there's a Rasha, there's a Beinani, there's a Tzaddik Gomur, and then there's Bnei Aliyah. They are like higher than high. What makes them so high? Because when they do a mitzvah, it's not because they need, even though it's a ruchnisdik need and a holy need, but it's still they need. The Bnei Aliyah do a mitzvah because of what the Eibishter needs. So now you can say, well, who's going to become a Bnei Aliyah? So it's really not very relevant. We're talking about Beinanim at best. Mostly we're talking about Rishoyim who are trying to be good. So can they do what the Bnei Aliyah do?
Aliyah is higher than tzaddik, you say.
So how can the average person do a mitzvah for the Eibishter? If you have to be so high to do that, how can the average person do that? So the story is, in the olden days, there was a tzamoin for the Eibishter. People thirsted. People had many reasons to want elokus and to want kedusha, and so that got in the way. You tell somebody do a mitzvah for the Eibishter, and he does the mitzvah, but he really likes it because he's holy, or because he's edel, or whatever. So it got in the way. Baruch Hashem. Thank God we don't have that problem. Because we don't know what holy means. We don't know what thirsting for the Eibishter means. We don't have that problem. Therefore, Today, even the simple average person in the street, if you ask him to do a mitzvah, he has no other reason to do it other than that the Eibishter needs it. So what used to be the highest madrege for the most select, special, unique people has now become available to everybody. And that's what happens. The lower the generation, the higher the potential. A person says, I want to build a house. I have to build a house. I need a house. For what? What are you going to do when you have a house?
You can feel at home.
And without the house?
Then you don't feel at home. He says that someone without a house is not a, he's not
a mensch.
Not a mensch.
And you're saying that about the Eibishter.
No, I'm saying
yeah, you're saying that about the Eibishter.
The Eibishter was, yeah.
So, what really happens when you have a house? What do you do in a house that you can't do anyplace else?
Rest.
Rest? The Eibishter needs to rest.
You feel at home?
No, you
don't have
put
to.
Yourself
you don't
there.
have to dress so fancy and talk with the right manners and whatever. You can do what you want.
I'll give you a hint. Who do you live with in a house? Strangers?
No, all the close.
The closest people. The feelings that you have with the closest people, that's personal. You don't show that in public. So what does it mean that a king in public has to wear his clothes, with his crown, with the robes, with the mices? That means he can't show what he really feels. He has to be a king. At home, with the people that he's closest to, there he can show what he really feels. The Eibishter wants to show the pleasure and the ava that he has for Yidden. But that's personal. That's private. For that you need a dira.
But the Eibishter already showed that by giving us mitzvahs.
So you see, the Eibishter gives us mitzvahs and we don't realize that it's personal. You know what I mean? If you say he doesn't need the mitzvah, so it's not personal. I don't need it. Here, you have it. That's called personal?
So the Eibishter needs a dira in order that we should understand that it's personal to the Eibishter?
So that he can show how personal it is. And that's why dira b'tachtenim and seeing how much the Eibishter needs it is the same thing. Where can the Eibishter show how much he needs it? If he has a dira, in public. But when you have a dira, and you live in this dira with the people that you are closest to, and nobody is invited into this private, does everybody know that you live there?
The people that are there, of course.
No, everybody.
Yeah, everyone knows you.
Everybody knows, right? Like you get married, this is private. But you invite everybody to the wedding.
Right.
In other words, it's a very private thing, but it has to be known to everybody. Not the private part, just the fact. So when the whole world knows what the Eibishter feels about a Yid, and the whole world is excited about it, that's a dira b'tachtenim. And that's what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. The Eibishter will be able to show how important, how much he needs us, and the whole world will be so impressed that they'll want to help. So then there'll be peace, there won't be war, there won't be fighting, there won't be, like the Rambam says.
Right.
Make sense?
Did Hashem have that need, or did he choose to need?
Did the Eibishter, was he always an Eibishter, or did he choose to be an Eibishter?
He was
Always an Eibishter. So you mean he was forced?
No, he decided.
He decided
Did he decide that what happens in this world is going to make him a difference?
Wait. Did he decide to be an Eibishter, or he just was?
I guess he just was.
So he was forced? He had no choice? When you say somebody was forced, that means that he's doing something that is not him.
Yeah.
If he's being him, And what's your question? Who forced you? Who forced you to be you? Nobody has to force me to be me. The Eibishter is the Eibishter. He doesn't choose to be an Eibishter. He is the Eibishter. Did somebody force him?
No.
No. Because you don't need to force somebody to be what he is.
He is.
And besides, nobody could force the Eibishter. Right? So on the one hand, you say, Eibishter is an Eibishter. What's the choice? On the other hand, nobody forced him. Nothing forced him
To have that need.
to be an Eibishter. Right?
Yeah.
Nobody forced him, that means it's willing. Not that he actually had to make a choice. Let's see, should I be an Eibishter or a carpenter? He's an Eibishter. But since nobody forced him and nobody made him, so it's like, yeah, it's his own free will. But his own free will doesn't mean he had a choice, like he could have been something else. He is what he is because he is, and nothing forces him. So is that freedom? Yes. So if the Eibishter needs a Dira B'Tachtonim, why does he need it? Because he's an Eibishter. Because that's what an Eibishter is.
Not because he chose to do it or need it.
He chose
Because that
it
doesn't.
because it's part of the thing of Eibishter. He wanted to become
So what do you mean by chose? You mean he could have wanted a Dira B'Tachtonim or not wanted it?
He could have decided that what happens in this world should not have any effect on him. That doesn't make sense.
No. But wanting the world and the fact that the world does have an effect on him, nobody forced him.
Because
But-
no one could force him.
Right? But that's what he is. So there's no other choice. But this, nobody forced him. So what should you call that? A choice?
Will.
So that's why we say it was a taiva. A taiva means I have to have it, and a taiva means it's my taiva. Nobody's forcing me. So if you have that kind of taiva, do you have to do it? Yes. Anybody forcing you?
No.
No. So that makes the taiva even deeper. If nothing is forcing me, and yet I need it, so that's really me. Nobody tells me to do it, nobody forces me to do it, and yet I want to do it. That means this is really me. Okay. A quick example. They say that the Alter Rebbe, they said that the Alter Rebbe didn't have to go to jail. Right? He could have lit the pipe
Yeah.
Just like
and
Light all whole Petersburg.
burned down the whole Petersburg with the Tsar and everything, right?
Chassidim said that the Chassidim said, what's the problem? We should just break
Yeah.
them.
So what does that mean? He didn't have to go. That means he went because he wants to. He wanted to be in jail. The reason he went to jail and didn't burn down Petersburg is because by going to jail and having that Mesiras Nefesh, then Chassidus can be revealed. Without that, Chassidus will remain a secret. So the Alter Rebbe wanted Chassidus to be revealed, so he went to jail. Now, did he go willingly or did he have to go?
Willingly.
The Alter Rebbe had to go because that was the reason why the Alter Rebbe came to the world. So
In other words, to the Alter Rebbe, was there an option not to go, and there won't be Chassidus?
No.
There was not an option. So he had to go. The point of the story is, you think a Tsar can force an Alter Rebbe into prison? No. But Chassidus can. Right? Chassidus forced him into it. Not a Tsar. Right? So what forced the Eibishter to make a Dira B'Tachtonim? A Malach. Yeah. He himself, not to have a Dira B'Tachtonim is not an option. So we say nothing forced the Alter Rebbe. It means nothing Chetzenius forced the Alter Rebbe. Not a government, not a Tsar, not a policeman, not an army. Something much deeper. So when we say by the Eibishter, everything is free choice. Nobody forces him. Does that mean he doesn't have to? What does that mean? He really has to. But not for any other reason other than because he's an Eibishter. That's what Eibishters do.
We're saying this whole time how mitzvahs are important to the Eibishter, but I don't really understand because all the years in yeshiva and through what we learned with our Rebbe and what I learned my father in Tanya, that there's a part of the Eibishter that the Eibishter does need mitzvahs, and there's a part like Soiviv which the Eibishter doesn't need mitzvahs. The Eibishter needs Yidden but doesn't need mitzvahs because there's no difference in between people. Level of Soiviv.
In the level of Seviv, nothing about the world matters. So whether the world gets better or worse, doesn't matter. But the mitzvah matters. The mitzvah always matters, because the mitzvah is not part of this world. It's him, right? So there's a level where, if you're destroying the world, Eibishter is upset. If you're fixing the world, Eibishter is happy. There's another level where the world, whatever, but mitzvahs you have to do.
Even in Kula Kabi Kula Mamash Chashivi?
Yeah.
So it's Mamash Chashivi, not just the world, but the mitzvahs, yes.
Exactly.
But why? Mitzvahs are details.
No.
Not one big picture?
No. Im tzadakta matiten lo means the Eibishter doesn't need you to be a tzaddik. Just do the mitzvahs. But not that he doesn't need the mitzvahs. What is special about mitzvahs? Mitzvah, gereres mitzvah. What's terrible about an aveda? What if the mitzvah is not gereres mitzvah? Is it still a mitzvah?
Well, a mitzvah is going to be gereres mitzvah.
What?
Suppose it doesn't.
It's still mitzvah.
If an aveda doesn't bring another aveda,
it's
still an aveda. So the Mishnah is saying, look at the effect of a mitzvah. Brings another mitzvah. Look at the effect of aveda. Brings another aveda. What if it has no effect?
Still, it's even...
So, what if the mitzvah doesn't make you a tzaddik? So don't be a tzaddik, but do the mitzvah.
But in that pasuk, it's not a lesson of tzedek, of that you do tzedek.
No.
That's what my teacher told me. Huh?
Because
Without peshachim atasale. What do you mean without peshachim atasale? Obviously, it's going to do something to the Eibishter. If you do it without peshachim.
Exactly.
if you're a big loser, what does it do to the Eibishter? But the mitzvah and the aveda are important. In other words, your good and your bad and your kavanah and your intentions and your personality, in Seviv that doesn't count. The mitzvah is not your choice and it's not your personality and it's not your holiness. This is the Eibishter's business. So when it says the Eibishter can't be affected by anything a person does, that means human activity.
That's a level of Seviv.
But even in Seviv, mitzvah activity, that's not human. That's the Eibishter's activities. That always counts. And the higher you go, the more it counts.